I welcome you very warmly here to THEKI, your podcast for consciousness, health, and happiness. I'm Sandra, and yes, today we're talking about the truly beautiful and also sensitive topic of when souls excarnate. It's a topic that has naturally always been a topic since humanity began, but in this special time of change for our Earth and for humanity, I've noticed especially in recent years that it's really pressing itself upon us now. The fear of dying, the suffering associated with death, the grief over the loss of loved ones, also the pain and the injustice when you feel like it shouldn't have happened yet, that it was too soon, he or she was torn away from life and so on. And I'm asked about this so often that I've now decided to address this topic today. Regarding the topic of death. In general, I once recorded a very, very detailed interview with Gerald A. Gardner. I'll link that below for those who simply want to delve deeper into the subject. What I want to specifically address now is that in recent months, a striking number of souls are excarnating, meaning they're leaving their bodies. Even the statistics show us this in a striking excess mortality that can no longer be covered up, and all of this naturally has worldly reasons as well, and these are currently known to many people, especially those who listen to podcasts like this, or people are currently being encouraged to simply wake up to take a look. These topics are increasingly coming into the public eye. And that's one thing which in turn sets many people on their path to engage more deeply with things, to question them. Yes, and also to really take personal responsibility for themselves, their lives, their decisions, and their bodies. Because whose business is your body anyway? You can't just hand that over to someone else, and certainly not collectively, right? That is our very own responsibility, and we should truly embrace it. So one could also say now that some of these people who have just been, let's say, damaged by certain measures or have even excarnated are also performing a service to humanity, in the sense that others are looking more closely because of it, and thus, of course, supporting the great process of change and ascension of the earth and humanity. Nevertheless, this whole topic has a major spiritual dimension, and I'd like to delve into that. When someone leaves their body, it is indeed often very hard and sad within the personal field and environment, even disturbing in a certain way, because it often happens quite suddenly and unexpectedly. But it is very, very important now to also see these events from a meta perspective. Because every soul that incarnates does so consciously and with a certain plan. Not everything is precisely prescribed now. You cannot read this plan like you would a book. But certain energies, this interaction with other souls, also to play a certain role within a specific quality of time, and what potential still wants to be developed, that is usually already selected beforehand. And so, as a rule, an incarnation is also ended when the soul chooses it. And it is important during this time that we keep that in the back of our minds. No one murders other people in that sense or is responsible for their death. On a 3D level, yes, but that wouldn't even be possible if the soul hadn't also chosen these experiences on higher levels to play the victim, the perpetrator, or even the rescuer game. And in some cases, this excarnation can happen spontaneously when the soul notices that the human has gone so far astray that it is no longer possible to realize the soul plan in this body and at this time. Or, and this is much, much more often the case, it was part of the soul's plan from the beginning to play a certain role in this specific time. And then also at a certain point where, for example, the vibration has reached a certain height, or whatever, to then leave again. Then this role is completed and finished. And yes, many souls do not want to experience this development that is currently pending here on earth. So this development into higher vibrations, into the new world, into the 5D consciousness that is available to all of us. They would like to continue playing the victim-perpetrator-rescuer game in other worlds for a while, right? So continuing in a lower vibration and gathering their experiences. And from a higher perspective, that is perfectly fine. But that's not everyone. Not everyone who is excarnating right now is continuing somewhere on lower vibrations. There are also other souls, and they are happy to be here for a long time to come and are actively participating. But they say to themselves, my body's getting quite old now. And maybe there are already a few spare parts installed. I want to have a new healthy body again. And there can be many reasons for choosing that, but that's also allowed. It's important that we understand that all of this is okay, and that those who are excarnating now are never victims in a higher sense. And we certainly can't assume that they all have to reincarnate in lower levels, which I hear again and again, that those who accepted these pointed offers are now going to other worlds. That's not generally the case. That might be the case under certain conditions. I can't go into that here, but it's not generally the case. And many of those who are leaving now will return very quickly in a new, fresh, beautiful garment. Yes, I'm saying all this now because I want to help you and all the people still stuck in these conflicts to get into solution mode. Because as long as someone is stuck in the problem, there's no progress. And this problem won't be solved on the same level where it was created. Only through greater understanding, through an expansion of our mind, through an opening of our heart to the magnificence in all living things, can we see beyond our own small boundaries into the infinite. And there, everything is always infinite, everything always makes sense, everything is always love. Yes, and speaking of solution mode, I'd also like to give you a few information on what you can do when someone leaves or is taken, because of course, especially when it's sudden and unexpected, or if you've perhaps fallen out over the last few months or years because the split simply went right through friendships, families, and so on. And if you've now received the news of that person's death, it may be that much remains unsaid. Or yes, you're now blaming yourself for not reaching out after all, or not calling again, or not trying one more time, or not being able to look past those differences, whatever it may be. It could also be that you tried and the other person didn't want to, but it's never too late to clear that up. You can do it at any time, regardless of whether the soul is still in the body or if it excarnated a long time ago, or just recently. You can contact this soul at any time. Usually, the soul then appears to you in your mind's eye just as the person you knew looked. So it shows itself to you as you know it, even if it might have inhabited many other bodies and could show itself in any energetic form, because it's no longer bound to a body. In my experience, the soul usually looks younger and healthier. So it shows itself at an age where it might like to show itself, where it liked itself, where it felt comfortable, whatever. So the soul itself chooses that. And you can then speak with the soul. You can say goodbye. You can still ask important questions. Or, well, share something yourself, say something that's still important to you. Very importantly, you can be aware of the gratitude you might feel that your paths crossed in this incarnation for whatever purpose. You learned something from each other, and you can be grateful for everything you experienced and what you learned from it. You can make your inner peace and be free, be inwardly free, no matter what connected the two of you. You can observe how the soul also finds this inner peace through this encounter with you. And yes, if you do THEKI, do it with THEKI through pure connection with the source. Maybe you have another way to truly connect yourself purely with the source. Always go first to the highest level into the source and then establish contact with the soul. Because there are many levels between daily consciousness and the highest consciousness. And you then have the best connection and also the safest contact when you go through the divine source. And so you work very deeply and you can free yourself and of course all your descendants from these attachments and feelings of guilt and the like, which are still in the field and are thus further reenacted. Besides, you don't take such energies with you into your other incarnations, which is also important, of course. I've made meditations on these topics. You can find them here on the YouTube channel. I'll also link them again below. One is forgiveness and self-forgiveness, and the other is harmonizing relationships with other people. There are explanations and meditations included for each, and they are very, very powerful. And they will also help you not to drift off, but rather to stay focused on the topic. If you enter into communication with the soul in between, then just press pause and let the meditation only continue once you have received or said everything that was important to you. But also be aware in this conversation with this soul that the soul knows no blame or anything like that. It only knows imbalances and will perhaps lovingly show you what you or both of you still need to release so that it continues more easily for you or both of you from now on. Because, as I have already said, and as you surely already know, we repeatedly reenact the unresolved in our lives. So the unresolved from the ancestral line, but also the unresolved that we have brought with us on a soul level from other incarnations. And we reenact it, of course, always for the purpose of looking at it now and finally resolving it. If we do this consciously, we can resolve it in a single moment. If we do not do it consciously, then it seems to us like an endless loop, and we do not understand why we keep encountering the same thing. So if we do this now quite consciously, and also face our fears and feelings of guilt and all the unspoken, perhaps painful things, then it becomes easier. Then we can let go and have the truly beautiful experience that it is never too late. Even if the soul is no longer in this body, it is not gone, it is eternal, it is infinite, and it was never dead for even a single second. It has only left its garment. Another important point is ancestral power. So it can really give you a quite wonderful experience to strengthen your ancestral power if you make peace with your ancestors. The topic of ancestral power is far too large now to expand upon it fully. But if we reduce it now purely to today's topic, that you might just have to say goodbye to one of your ancestors or have already done so, then it can be an incredibly beautiful experience to establish this inner peace through this heart contact, which then often, yes, moves back like a radiant light through many generations and takes this burden from many souls. Because if there were certain family issues, such as not being able to express feelings, partnerships not lasting, illnesses, whatever, So on one hand, it's tied to the ancestral line, but on the other hand, your ancestors who may have reincarnated elsewhere by now also carry parts of these issues with them and might still be struggling with them somewhere at some point in time. And if you resolve this now, they will feel it too. So it's truly a multi-dimensional resolution that can have very, very far-reaching effects. And since I did this ancestral work many years ago, I've truly found a very deep peace with all the issues and people in my family. Even if I don't approve of all their actions and deeds, I can still affirm their choices and life itself. I can let it be. I can accept the differences, and I can affirm the love that shows itself in all these facets, even in their actions. I can see it. And because of that, my life force has significantly increased, because I've let go of those resistances towards certain members of my family of origin. I've simply cleared everything, and now this purified power, which is in turn pure life force, pure love, flows into my system, and it often feels like a gentle tailwind that strengthens and nourishes me. And especially in various life situations, maybe when I'm starting something new or when I'm standing in front of many people at a seminar, whatever it is, I feel this power of my ancestors. I know they're there, having my back, and then I know that I am unconditionally loved. And ultimately, it's really always about one thing: peace with ourselves. Not with others at all, they're just the detour, so to speak. It's about peace with ourselves, and we find that within. We don't need anyone else for that. And even if it's not easy, we find peace by respecting the soul's decision. Every soul, knowing that everyone in the role they played here in this life was and is exactly right. Adopt this expanded perception, expand yourself. Don't limit yourself to this person, this body, this human being they embodied here, but recognize that every soul has a plan it wants to fulfill. And that might even mean ending this incarnation right here and now, or even having a few more unpleasant experiences. And as much as you love this person, as much as you want to protect them, if you see that it's not working, then let go. Respect the uniqueness of the person before you and the path that their soul chooses. Let us not judge, but love and respect. Let us honor and cherish the greatness and divinity of every soul and trust in the higher purpose that is always there, accompanying every life and ultimately leading back to the light, back to the source. The paths may be different, but the outcome is the same. No one gets lost. And when we anchor that deep within our hearts, then we can meet each other anew. Then we don't meet in roles, but on a soul level. And then we look into each other's eyes again, smiling, just because then we are people of the heart again, and that is the part of us that is eternal, inviolable, pure love.